My strong plea and recommendation to all the banking practitioners here that in the first instance, our effort should be on the revival of these units, because it's very important to distinguish between willingness to pay and ability to pay. Where there's a willingness issue, it's a bigger issue. Where there's an ability issue, you as banking practitioners need to ensure that you work with the C-suite and you work with the management and you work with the sponsors to see how you can take them through the cycle without drawing them into the courts or without drawing them into other areas where you can and your risk management colleagues and your boards can decide that it's an ability issue and things are going to be revived in the next 2 to 3 years, और उसमें थोड़ा सा हौसला कर लें, क्योंकि बड़ा important है कि you take a bit of a push a pause button and ensure that we don't actually push a good concern into a situation from there they will never be able to recover. So I just wanted to start with that. Now, the second part of it is the enabling environment and the enabling framework. There I've been very clear and consistent, whether I was in the private sector or now working for the government. It's the private sector which has to lead the country. The government is there to provide policy framework and policy continuity. And that's what I said in the housing conference couple of days back as well, that we are not going to go back into the era of directed lending. बिल्कुल गलत किया हमने जो उस वक्त किया. That is not the way how you actually go and lend to the priority sectors. And housing is indeed a priority sector. But उसके लिए जो हमें काम करने की ज़रूरत है, and what we need to do as the government is to ensure there is a regulatory authority. That's been a long-standing demand of the industry. And we need to, and all the lordships are sitting here, ensure that the foreclosure laws actually work. It's not only coming up with the law, but ultimately it's also how those are going to get executed. So, because 90% of strategy or anything is execution. So coming back now into the discussion with Chairman SECP and this conference is all about is the framework around insolvency and orderly debt resolution, because that's how I see it. Because again, this is going to be an enabling framework, an enabling environment in terms of access to credit, access to finance, but also when anyone gets into trouble, how are we going to ensure that that is done in a systematic way. When you are in a credit business, it's almost by definition that there are going to be issues. As I said, all the cycles that I mentioned, whether it's the macroeconomic framework, whether it's the industry framework, whether it's the entity framework, there are going to be issues. But this is going to be very critical that we go into that in a very well thought way. And I think the 2 days conference with all the best minds from the executive, the industry, the judiciary, I'm sure will make sure that this will lead to something which is going to be sustainable for everyone in Pakistan. Because when we do knee-jerk reactions, when the government forces something, like the corporate restructuring company, and you are asked to capitalize that company without thinking about the funding model, without thinking about how, who should be actually leading that. So we do have a Pakistan corporate restructuring company. Has gone nowhere. Gone nowhere. Because of knee-jerk reactions. because someone from Islamabad says, do it, we think it's a fantastic idea, we go ahead and ask our regulators or ask our industry to actually go ahead and do it. But it is this consultative process which is going to be the most critical to get into those areas which are going to be sustainable.